afternoon. My name is Dawn Bueller. I'm your Kansas Riverkeeper and Executive Director of Friends of The KAW. We are a nonprofit that's dedicated to protecting and preserving the 173-mile-long Kansas River. And we are on the banks of the Kansas River today, right here in downtown Lawrence. The river starts in Junction City, near the center part of the state, and it flows 173 miles where it meets the Missouri River in Kansas City, Kansas. So today we're here to talk to you about the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. Every year on Earth Day, we try to do a service project, and this year, like no other, we had big plans for Earth Day. We were planning to do a project, a community service project for a riverbank restoration project, and then we followed that up the very next weekend with our biggest trash cleanup of the year. This is the greatest way that we feel that we can celebrate our earth is by keeping it clean. And so today, since we are celebrating Earth Day virtually with everyone, we wanted to share with you some ways that you could help celebrate Earth Day and do a trash cleanup, even right in your own yard or in your own area, and some things that you could do to help reduce our waste as well. So we'll get started. A few things that we want to talk about include our big cleanup last year. So we've done it the last 3 years in partnership with the Nature Conservancy of Kansas, and we also worked in partnership with the City of Lawrence. And on those cleanups, we usually have about 100 people that come out to help us clean up the banks of the Kansas River. We're right in this area, right where we're at today. We are on the north side and the south side of the river, here below Bowersock. If you hear the water moving in the background, that's the sound of Bowersock Power and Mill with their water running through their hydroelectric plant. And so in this area down here, what happens is Bowersock, when the river's high and the water's moving through, the water comes over the dam and it shoves it off into the banks on both sides of the river. And then the trash will get caught up in all of these rocks. You can see there's a lot of rocks at my feet, all up here along the bank. There's even more on the north side where we have the levee. Those rocks are really big, and things like plastic bottles, they will lodge down in the rocks on the north side of the river. And if you were to walk down there right now, you wouldn't see any trash, and you might think, those folks at Friends of the KAW are a bit crazy. I don't see any trash down there. But when you get up on it close and you start looking down into those holes between the rocks, you'll find all kinds of plastic. We do cleanups there anywhere from 10 to 15 times a year with student groups and with community groups, and we have never gone to do a cleanup and not found a lot of trash. So we do this trash cleanup every year with the Nature Conservancy, and last year, as an example, we had 100 people show up. We ended up filling a 12-yard dumpster completely full of trash. It was anywhere from 50 to 75 trash bags, and on top of that, we had some really big items. We had furniture, televisions, all kinds of things that we found along the banks through here. Some of them were recycled, some of them were put into the dumpster. On top of that, we had 5 50-gallon trash bags full of recyclables. Now I'll tell you, 3 years ago, we weren't putting all of those recyclables into these big 50-gallon trash bags. We were doing it in a different way, and we ended up filling the entire back end of a pickup truck full of nothing but plastic bottles. That's what filled an entire pickup bed. So we have a lot of plastic bottles on the Kansas River. Everyone will tell you that they see more of one trash or another. Right after the flooding last year, when the river was low, I got out on the river, and the number one thing that I saw was plastic grocery bags, because they were hung up in the trees, and as the water would drop, we would find those plastic trash bags there. Plastic bottles are the number one thing that I see along the banks, and styrofoam, lots of styrofoam. So let's talk about some of the things that we might find on a trash pickup. So if you come out on a trash cleanup with us, we're going to give you a trash bag. This is truly for trash. And then we have these mesh bags that are recycle bags. and you put all of your recyclables in here, and then we sort them and we turn them into the recycling center. Now, most recycling centers, they're not going to take broken glass, so you can't put broken glass into the bag. You can put plastic bottles, anything that's recyclable, and so you'll have to get up to speed on some of your recycling techniques, but put those in a separate bag so that you know which ones you recycle and which ones are going to the trash. Now let's look at a few of the items that we found today right down here on the banks, just to give you an idea. Many of you probably recognize a green plastic bottle. This was probably a Sprite or a 7-Up bottle. We've got a Mountain Dew bottle, a water jug. We've got some aluminum cans, some styrofoam, some tin cans, and some broken glass, right? And some other little plastic pieces. These are the kind of things that we find along the banks. So what can you do about all of this trash that you see? The first thing that you can do is you can refuse. You can refuse to use these products. So maybe you decide that instead of using plastic for your Sprite or your 7-Up, that you move to aluminum, which is easier to recycle. Or perhaps you bring your own water bottle and refill that at water stations and at water fountains and at your own drinking water faucet so that you can reuse that bottle. Styrofoam. How many of you recognize an Arctic Chill styrofoam, right? This other piece of styrofoam probably came from, maybe it's the packing material from a new television, or who knows, it could be from lots of different things. And we see a lot of glass. So we know that, let's talk about how long it takes these things to decompose. So we know that a plastic bottle can take anywhere up to 450 years to decompose. We know that styrofoam cups can take up to 50 years. 50 years for these to decompose. Plastic grocery bags can take up to 20 years to decompose. And aluminum cans can take up to 200 years. Did you know that in your community, if you recycle these, there are many nonprofit organizations that collect these, and they use this as a way to raise money for different programs. So there are lots of ways that you can recycle aluminum and help out your community. And the glass bottles, glass is undetermined as to how long it would take for this to decompose. And so we need to be recycling these glass bottles. So make sure that you do your part to do that. So some of the things you can do, we said refuse to use the items. You can reduce your consumption. You can reuse items. Maybe you can reuse some of those glass jars, like a pickle jar, and reuse that item, and then to recycle these items. So despite many environmental regulations that we have in our communities, trash is something that we still find a lot of. So the Kansas River, in many places, such as this area right here, notice how close the surface water is to the banks. It's very close. So if a bottle is dropped onto the ground, or it washes off in a rainstorm, or the wind picks it up and blows it in, it's really an easy way for this trash to make its way into our waterways. So I want you to think about what can you do to reduce. We'll go through the R's. There's 4 R's. So, and it's a tongue twister, but refuse, reduce, reuse, and recycle. See if you can find ways to do that. So in this time, we are all under stay-home orders and being asked to limit our distancing between each other, but we are able to get outside and to go for a walk and to get some exercise. So one of the things that you can do on Earth Day is you can go for a walk with your family. You can take recycle bags and trash bags with you, and while you're out on your walk, just pick up trash. Every little bit counts. If you just fill one little trash bag full of trash, that's that much less that winds up in our rivers and streams. So I want to thank you for joining us for this Earth Day celebration, 50 years of Earth Day. And next year, we hope that you can join us for a big Earth Day celebration in person. And in the meantime, we wish you all well and happy Earth Day.